I don't know exactly where I am. I assume it's England because I had lived there before, but I'm in my bed and I'm on my knees facing backwards towards the headboard, and through the window, which has this sort of Tudor-like steel framing on it or metal framing, through the crisscross framing, I see these rolling hills. So it looks like England. And there's all of a sudden I can hear this rumble. And when the dream starts, I'm actually already in this position and I'm hearing the rumble, and I'm thinking to myself that I've snapped awake to this rumble. And there's suddenly over the crest of the closest hill is a column of tanks starts coming over the crest of the hill. And the tanks are strange because they look Soviet made from my own expertise, and they are desert pattern colored. And that just struck me as odd because there's, the desert pattern clashing with the sort of rolling green hills and the strange flag in this place. And so that confused me about my whereabouts. And then I'm seeing the tanks rolling, and I'm feeling the vibration. And then all of a sudden, and I'm frightened. And then all of a sudden the dream shifts, and I'm suddenly feel like I'm in the same place, but I'm already on my feet. I'm dressed, and I'm going through this room to room, but I can't see the rooms. I only see this sort of darkened tunnel that I'm walking through, but I know I'm in the house. I just can't see the rooms. I can't make them out. When I walk into them, it's like this tunnel, the shadow tunnel around me, and this tunnel of shadow around me, and I'm walking through it, and I'm looking for my family, and I don't know who that is specifically in the instance. I don't imagine who they are, although I have a family. It could be them, it could be anyone, but I'm looking for my family. And then I come to a door, but it's like a jump cut. I'm suddenly at the door off this jump cut, and I open the door, and it's the same place. I can feel it. There's a mustiness to this place, a weird mustiness in the shadows that tells me that it's consistently the same place, and which tells me that it's England, because I lived in a manor house there that was like, kind of musty and old and lovely, but it had a certain kind of stone kind of smell to it that this place had too. And so I get to the door, and I'm opening the door in the jump cut. My hand's already on immediately on the knob, and I open the door, and it's nothing but light outside, like white light. That's it. And that's the dream. When I first had this dream back in 1997, I was freshly married. I was just had gotten my master's degree from the London School of Economics. I was living with my wife at the time in Oxford, England, in a 14th century abbey, which had been turned into apartments. And we had one of the apartments in the abbey. It was an idyllic existence and life, almost dilettantish, and except that we're very endeavorous and hardworking. And also, my family lived in London at the time. My entire family, my parents, my brothers and sisters, were all going to elementary and high school in London, England. So I had my family 30 minutes from me, very far away from America, where we're from. So, which was also lovely. So I felt very much in a great place at that time. It was a wonderful year. 1997 was a great, great year. I don't know exactly what the threat would have been that would have triggered me to have this dream at that time. I do have a fear sometimes when everything is going right that it can go topsy-turvy wrong and 180. I had a great childhood, but we had up and down in terms of in financial ups and downs, and we lived a very privileged life, but it was one that was constantly under the threat of being the net falling out from underneath you, and, you're on a tightrope without one underneath there. And when you fall, you're going to fall hard. Well, I got married. Getting married it turns the relationship into a much bigger deal. When you're 23 and dating, it's different than being 23 and married, and it's a sudden thing. And, it dawned on me that, gee, we could actually have children now. And, we could, there's a whole sort of framework around marriage and particularly even more so than now, around the sort of expectations involved in that perhaps I was fearful of. I had an English teacher senior year, Mr. Kumisky, who used to say, "Get ready for the big kick in the stomach when life hits you," maybe that was the big kick in the stomach, was that, or I was afraid of the big kick in the stomach. Maybe the tanks represent the big kick in the stomach. I don't know. Yeah, it was a wonderful time. I think at that time, I remember being fearful of it going away. I do remember that. I do remember it, something, rocking the boat, or a wrench in the works kind of thing. I had that pervasive feeling. I just signed my first publishing deal. And at the same time as I was signing that, I was taking care of my dying mom, which, I was just, that there was a juxtaposition there between elation and devastation, and I was worried that, that because there's so much riding on this project and what I'm doing in the publishing industry, that if it goes away, it's more than a disappointment. It's more devastation. That's how I can put it. Yeah, if things will go south for me, that my family suffers for it. I know they'll be okay because their mom is great and her career is going very well. But, my kids need to see their dad be successful. They need to see, they need to have my support. And this is my best way of giving it in the maximum level, So, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. I think unconditional love is absolutely necessary. Even if your kid, I always say, if God forbid, one of your children, anybody's child turns out to be like a criminal of some kind, or an awful criminal or something like that. But I would even visit my child in prison, even if I was appalled at their actions. And, I would still love my child. Fortunately, I don't have that problem, but I think, you accept your children for who they are and love them, I think, is the most important thing. But in a capitalist society, not downing capitalism, I'm very pro-capitalism, but we do equate, and it is a good thing in a way to equate, the sort of responsibility of a parent with financial contribution, making sure that they're taken care of. Because a child needs to feel taken care of, and that the love through taken care of in a capitalist system is going to be based on monetary support. It's just the natural way it is. You do have to kind of hustle, or you have to. The light at the end of the door, I think my mom passing away later on, I don't know if that was some kind of signal or related to her. I don't know, maybe it was me telling myself that everything would be okay in the end, regardless of what happens. Because one thing I do feel is that my mom passed away shortly after this dream, or a couple weeks later, and one thing I do feel is that her death was, for her, a salvation at the end, and that she was in a better place. And I know that, and we buried her in Vermont, in Woodstock, Vermont, and she's buried exactly where she'd want to be, in a wonderful resting place with, surrounded by soldiers, actually, all the way back to the Revolutionary War and the Green Mountain Boys of Vermont. So I thought about the dream at that point and thought, maybe that's somewhat of the light. Maybe or whatever. Maybe it just blanked out. I don't know. But I think it was saying that everything's going to be all right. And I mean, her passing for her was better, and there was a sense that she would be saying, go forward, keep going, don't let up. You're going to be great. Because one of the last things she said to me was that she was rooting for me. So.
Dream Logic is produced by me, Elias Campbell. Original score in this episode by Andy Trithart. Sound mixing by Sarah Bassiano. Our theme music is by Sean Sutherland, cover art by Stephen McLaughlin. Special thanks to our guest this week, Al. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at DreamLogicShow. If you have a dream you want to share, email us at dreamlogicpod@gmail.com. And please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.